tonight's guest here on 3YT for the SimPossible B Car Series live from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. New Hampshire Motor Speedway, located just outside of Concord, New Hampshire, in the small little town of Loudon, is just over a mile long. It races like a flat, short track. It's one of the most exciting 1 mile racetracks in all of NASCAR, and it plays host to tonight's 133 lap event. I am joined in the booth by our producer, Carlos Acosta. And Carlos, this is a very interesting racetrack to drive around. I've heard a lot of drivers already say it, but brake bias here is very, very important. Heard a lot of drivers playing around with brake bias. What's your experience with this place?
Oh, yeah, definitely you need to make sure you can brake in and keep the brakes in. But most importantly, rotate your car. And if your car is too tight, especially in the middle of the corner, you're not going to be going anywhere. So you need to make sure you get your car to rotate a lot better in the corners, and one of the best options to do it in a fixed setup is with a brake bias. So Peter, why don't you go ahead and explain what exactly a brake bias is to our non-racing fans here watching?
Yeah, absolutely. And, for kind of what you said, Carlos, in a fixed series where every driver in this field has a identical setup on these cars, as you see, I believe that is a number 4, perhaps. The number 1, Thomas Weiss, out there on the racetrack. And now on board with the number 17, Fernando Matos. The brake bias, it basically controls how much pressure are applied to the brakes on both the front and rear brakes. If you have more rear brake bias, the rear brakes will have a little bit more pressure relative to the front, and it will really help turn that car. However, a little bit too much rear brake bias will cause your car to spin out. So it's pretty much a fine balance. All these drivers trying to get their machines to rotate through the corner. As you see the number 98 there, Christopher Burge on screen in that Canada Toyota. He's going through turns number 3 and 4 there, getting that machine to rotate using those brakes. And for all you race fans, on the other hand, who might not be all too familiar with this racetrack, New Hampshire races like a big Martinsville. Martinsville, a half-mile racetrack, but if you're able to blow up Martinsville, you'd pretty much end up with New Hampshire. Not too much banking in the corners. Maybe a little bit of contact there with Kyle Zimmer in the wall there on entry into turn number 3 as he gets through turn number 3 and 4. And another thing about New Hampshire is it's actually variably banked. Down on the bottom, there's not too much banking, and then the second groove has a little bit more, and that really tends to make that second groove where you want to run. That bottom groove can work for a lap or two. You might be able to make a few passes down there, but it's pretty slippery right on the bottom. See a couple cars tend to get loose. In fact, Kyle Zimmer there, he was actually running that third groove, trying to see if he can find a little bit more grip up there. Zimmer was quite quick in the practice that we ran. In fact, he was the fastest car out there, but so far in qualifying, Zimmer is currently sitting 5th. Tanner Sharp currently atop the leaderboard.
Out of the current drivers on the racetrack right now, all of them have taken times. That is currently Christopher Burge, David Wilson, and Kyle Zimmer. We've only had 10 drivers out of the 16 driver field take an actual time. Everybody else, including Travis Zuderman, Alan Cabers, Brian Lohead, Tom Johnson, Doug McCollum, and Kevin Cochran have not taken a lap time yet. And with 33 seconds left to go, I do not see them going out right now and completing a lap in time.
Yeah, so it does look like at this present moment in time we'll have 10 drivers take time. Tanner Sharp sitting atop the board, Christopher Burge sitting 2nd, Kyle Zimmer 3rd, Dave Wilson has slid down to 4th. Kyle Zimmer picked it up on lap number 2. Was able to jump above Dave Wilson and AJ Digby in the number 14 machine. Nate Catilla, Fernando Matos, Billy Wise, Thomas Wise, and Johnny Berardi down there in 10th year qualifiers. But the clock has gone to 0 here, and that will do it for qualifying. It does look like Tanner Sharp in that number 3 machine, who has been on an absolute tear getting the win last week. He's won 5 of the last 6 races. The only race he did not win in the last 6 was at Daytona, where he came home in 2nd spot. So a fantastic run of form for the number 3 of Tanner Sharp, currently sitting on the pole. Let's take you through tonight's starting lineup. Tanner Sharp starting P1, and alongside him is the number 98 of Christopher Burge. Fantastic qualifying run for Christopher Burge. He comes into the night 5th place in points, trying to work his way up. Row number 2 is the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer. Your points, second place in points now, behind Tanner Sharp. Dave Wilson there alongside him on row number 2. Dave Wilson has won here in SimPossible before. AJ Digby on row number 3 on the inside will roll off from 5th position. Alongside him, the number 4 of Nate Catilla. On row number 4, we got the number 17 of Fernando Matos. We're going to highlight that number 17 here tonight a couple times. He's got a special paint scheme. We'll talk about that here just a little bit. Billy Y starting alongside him in that number 32 in the 8th position. Row number 5, we got the number 1 of Thomas Weiss with a 31.375 qualifying lap. And alongside him, Johnny Berardi in the number 99. We'd had 6 drivers elected not to take a qualifying time. That'd be the 56th there of Tom Johnson, and alongside him, the number 80 of Kevin Cochran. Was on the right side of your screen there briefly. On row number 12, it's the 13 of Capers and Travis Zuma. And rounding out your field, the number 33 of Doug McCollum, and the 66 of Brian Lowhead. But tonight we have a 16-car field, which is a very, very respectable grid here tonight. In fact, it's one of the bigger fields that we've had so far this year, which is somewhat surprising for it being here at New Hampshire Speedway, which is a kind of a track that drivers either enjoy or very much dislike. I haven't really heard anyone ever kind of in the middle of whether they like it or not, and it's definitely kind of a polarizing track. But as you can see,
how do you feel about it?
Currently, Christopher Burge is sitting on pit road, but. You know, to answer your question, Carlos, I don't particularly like this racetrack. I find it very, very frustrating. The fact that it is variably banked makes it very difficult to pass. Everyone kind of flocks to that second groove, and just with the way the exit of these corners are coming out of turn number 2 and turn number 4, it just gets so narrow so quickly. That if you're on the inside line, you often have to check up to avoid running into the car on the outside. So it can be kind of processional here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, but nonetheless, these SimPossible guys have proven me wrong a couple of times this year when I've said similar things. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And like I said, the number 98 of Christopher Burge ran that fantastic qualifying lap time. He's sitting on pit road from where he will start this race. Hopefully he's able to get on track quickly, but it will be in the hands of the number 3 of Tanner Sharp. Green flag already in the air, and everyone getting a pretty good start set for that outside row. AJ Digby wasn't able to stay on the back bumper of the number 20 of Dave Wilson, gives him a little bit of breathing space off into turn number 1. But here comes Dave Wilson trying to hang tough on the outside as, Digby smacked the wall coming out of turn number 2. As they head down the back stretch, Digby's going to lose that spot to the 25 of Zimmer, but here comes Dave Wilson trying to use that high side once again. And like I said earlier, just a minute ago before the race started, if you're on the inside line, you usually have to check up. And that really means that one of the best way to pass at this racetrack is to pass around the high side, and that's what Dave Wilson's trying to do. He got big contact there. I think that might have been Digby. It was Digby.
It was both Digby and the 25.
Wow, so Digby's got quite a bit of right front damage. There's number 17, Fernando Matos, running high. It was well, go back and watch this one on the replay. And riding on board, and like I said, the track just narrows up very quickly coming out of the corner. And Digby really impaled that right front. These drivers do have a few fast repairs. So Digby, we'll have to keep an eye on whether or not he... Yeah, he is currently in the 4th position. He's a second behind Kyle Zimmer, and he has been caught by the 17 of Fernando Matos. Looking a little bit further back in the pack, there's the number 1 of Thomas Wise. He's got the number 13 of Alan Capers right in front of him.
Thomas the 20 of David Wilson to the top point.
Yeah, and a fantastic move there by Dave Wilson. He's going to break late off into turn number 1. And like you said, Carlos, he's going to go to the lead here. Going to see if the number 3 of Tanner Sharp's going to do the over-under. Got a fantastic run coming off the corner. Going to see if he can dive underneath that number 20 machine, but look how high Dave Wilson's running on the racetrack, kind of diamonding the car up off the corner. Almost contact there, but here comes the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer. He wants to play for this battle for the race lead, as we're only 4 laps down. Now working lap number 5.
All these 3 drivers are sure driving it pretty hard and deep into the corners. It's quite early to be doing this, so I'm a little bit shocked to see them driving this hard in the first couple laps.
Well, one thing, Carlos, that we've seen out of these SimPossible drivers each and every week, they are improving, they're getting faster, and we hear it now from most of the drivers. You just can't make any mistakes in any of these races if you want to get to victory lane. And I think what's happening is these drivers understand that you're just going to have to go for it as early as possible. You've got to be aggressive in these races now if you want to get to victory lane. And that's what Dave Wilson did, is he's got the number 20 Viagra, the Toyota Camry, up to the point. Sitting in second, we have your pole sitter driver number 3 machine, Tanner Sharp. Third place, Kyle Zimmer. And then it's about 1 second back to AJ Digby, who has Fernando Matos rounding out the top 5. There's Nate Catilla in the 6th position. Pretty good looking paint scheme on that thing, I should say. There's the number 80 of Kevin Cochran back there. He started in the 12th position, now up into 9th. He's trying to get around the number 32 of Billy Wise, but he also has to watch out for Travis Zudema in the number 90 machine right behind him. And you see that number 80 running right down on the bottom of the racetrack. Not many race cars down there, and here comes Zudema around the high side, keeping that momentum up, using the additional banking that's up there. And Zudema now going to take away the 9th position. Going to see if he can set his eyes on the 32 of Billy Wise, and I think he's going to pass him here around the high side. Billy Wise might be looking to use a different groove to see if he can find any grip down there on the bottom. Unable to do so just yet. And Cochran now running that high side. Ooh, possibly someone in the wall there at the top of the picture. Not quite sure who that might have been. Might have been Brian Lowhead, who got very close to the wall in turn number 3 and 4.
Oh, the 25 just smacked the wall there. It looks like I see in the corner 25 just gave a little bit too much extra power in the gas, and it caused him to just miss the exit of the corner just by a little, but it was enough to pound the outside wall.
Yeah, and that's not going to help that right front at all. As the 66, man, we have to watch the line that Brian Lowhead's running in the 66 machine. It's very impressive as he's going to get around, I believe, here Tom Johnson in the number 56 machine. Lowhead is running higher on the racetrack than anyone else I've seen. He's running right up there above the highest white mark on the racetrack. He's actually scraped the wall the last 2 laps in turn number 3 and 4. Just kissed it ever so slightly. There he goes again. Yep, just knock it in that right front just a little bit more. I'm sure he's going to try and adjust his line so he doesn't hit the wall, but it's a very interesting line nonetheless. Probably trying to save that right front tire because this race does have a green flag feel to it already.
Already 11 laps into this race, and we've seen quite a lot of drivers smack the outside wall. It's usually a 13 try to battle the 4. Enter turn 3 and 4 there for Nicotella 13 Adam Gapers. Something that was mentioned earlier, actually by me when I was chatting with the drivers before we went live, is that to get used to driving or not to get used to not relying on the fast repairs. Some of these drivers have been at this point getting used to using them when they get involved in accidents or when they have damage. But what is confirmed is that next season, especially once they move to the Cup Series, next season there will be a decrease of the amount of fast repairs that are used. So these drivers are pretty much, they already know at this point to start getting used to not relying on them, because come next season they'll be gone and no amount of pleading will get it back. As you see, the 14 of, I believe that's AJ Digby, just come out and smack that wall, getting himself major right side damage. I don't know how heavy that is, Peter, but this type of track, would this amount of right side damage be an issue, or is this kind of like Martinsville or Bristol where aerodynamics don't really play a part?
Well, let me tell you, whenever you get right front damage here at this racetrack, it just makes whatever handling condition your car has, it just makes it worse. And for Digby, it looks like that number 14 machine's a little bit tight, especially off the corner. And the more he knocks down that right front, the more it is going to get tight. Speaking of tight, the battle for the race lead has tightened up once again. Tanner Sharp now on the back bumper of Dave Wilson. You see Tanner running up in the darker groove up there near the top. Wilson running a little bit lower. No! Tanner Sharp.
Tanner drove it too hard, too deep, actually, in the corner.
Yeah, just got on the gas a little bit too soon. And you know what, Carlos? It can be really difficult when you're following another car so closely because you lose the ability to see that outside wall. But it doesn't really matter now because that number 3 got a huge run coming out of turn number 4. We're going to see if he can get by Dave Wilson here. They're side by side coming out of turn number 2 onto the backstretch. And Tanner Sharp showing some muscle here. Maybe Dave Wilson might have burned off his tires just a little bit. Not 100% sure. This is a racetrack where saving your tires can pay dividends. And it does indeed look like Tanner Sharp will take that number 3 to the point.
The 20 David Wilson has pretty much lost 2 positions in 1 lap, although he is trying his best to not lose that second one against Kyle Zimmer. I think Kyle Zimmer will be having some issues there with his internet connection. We did see that once Tanner got to the inside, oh no, the 20 smacked the wall really, really hard. That car smacked it hard, and I don't know how long that car can keep on going if it does smack it again. Once the 20 found himself on the outside line, he was kind of driving it like how we saw, I believe that was Tom Johnson, who was driving it incredibly up high and going down there, who smacked the wall once in a while. So unfortunately that does not work for trying to keep a lead, but it might be good in saving tires. I'm not sure at this point. If the 20 has lost its tires, then it might be a little bit too late to try to save them now.
I'll tell you what, Carlos. 2 of those front cars have a lot of right front damage in Tanner Sharp and Dave Wilson. You can see Dave Wilson, he's starting to fall off the back. But here comes Kyle Zimmer driving number 25 Ally Chevy Camaro. That number 25 is moving. Oh, we have a wreck on the front stretch. Number 4, Nate Catilla's got around.
No,
and
no
he
caution.
Stopped in the middle of the racetrack.
Oh,
no caution. There's the caution.
Not quite sure why he had to stop, but that did bring out the caution. As my voice did crack a little because I'm going through puberty.
We're going to have to go back and watch this replay because it doesn't look like there's too much damage on that number 4 machine. But when you see this replay, you'll be surprised that number 4 isn't more heavily damaged. Ooh, maybe a little bit of help there from the number 13.
Oh.
And here comes the 99 of Johnny Berardi, nowhere to go, and hits the left rear of that number 4 machine. Those 2 drivers will be electing to use a fast repair.
I can see why he stopped. It kind of looked like the way his angle was going that it seemed like he was going to hit the outside. He was going to hit like the other drivers coming in on the outside, but if he just turned his wheel a little bit more, he would have been fine. That being said, the caution did come out, and honestly, the caution should have come out anyway. The caution should have been out anyway, but it did come out because he did stop on the racetrack. So as these drivers go down pit road, I do have something I want to get your opinion on, but we're going to save that until after pit stops have gone through, because we're going to see if any of these drivers already driving in a little bit too deep in the corners. 25 still having that connection issue. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah, and Carlos, I'm interested to know how many of these drivers are going to elect to use a fast repair at this moment in the race. I don't think Tanner Sharp will. He's one of those drivers who really likes to use his fast repair sparingly, but he isn't using his reverse gear sparingly here as he overshot his pit box just a little bit. There's the number 98 of Chris Roberge. This is what Chris Roberge needed. Like I said, he started from pit lane. He will now be back up with your leaders, but the number 25 who hit his pit box perfectly will take the race lead, and looks like Tanner Sharp fixed some damage. Looks like the number 20 fixed some damage. They're going to drop back in the field because the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer got out handily. The number 14 of AJ Digby stayed out on the racetrack, but I do expect him to come down pit road this time.
No.
I'm sure he's going to get some of that damage repaired too.
Now, something that I actually wasn't going to mention, but because of what we saw with Tanner, I don't know how you approach entering pit road or entering your pit stall. But every time I actually start turning left to go into my stall, I always clutch it. I keep it clutched and I shift to reverse even if I'm driving, because I just want to be prepared in case I do overshoot it. And unfortunately, every time I find myself actually overshooting it, it's when I forget to shift to reverse. But I think only one time has it actually worked for me, and I caught it, and I realized, oh, I'm going to overshoot it. Thankfully, I'm in reverse, just smack the gas, and I'm going backwards, and I barely lose any time. I don't know how you do it, but that's how I approach my pit stall.
I have honestly never done that in my sim racing career. I've never preemptively clutched the car
Oh,
and
okay. I thought you
put
were
it
going
in
to say that
reverse.
I thought you were going to say you've never overshot it, in which I was going to call you out big time, but
No, I've overshot my pit box many times before.
you're not a
but,
true racer until you've overshot your pit stall.
Yeah, you're trying to get every little bit on pit road. But number 25, Kyle Zimmer, out first. And look at the second place machine. That's the number 90 of Chris Robert.
Nope,
What am I saying?
that's Travis
That's not the
Sudema.
number 90 of Chris Robert. And Robert is in the 98. The number 90 of Travis Sudema, yeah. He's currently up there, and of course he started this race down in the 14th position, so from 14th to 2nd, that's a pretty good run in that Zulu Motorsports Ford Mustang. His teammate, driver number 14, AJ Digby, just coming off pit road now. Gonna see if he used a fast repair. He did not. He just stayed on pit road to get as much damage repaired as possible, but pace car lights are off. We're gonna get set to go back to green flag racing here in just under a lap.
Yep, before we do go back to green, also want to give a shout out to Eric on the chat who is watching. Thank you for watching, Eric, and also Will Wursler, who has said that the 25 is going to give Tanner a real effort. He's going to make Tanner work for it tonight. Going to make it earn.
Yeah,
That's exactly what he said. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly, and I agree. The number 25 looks T-Quick out there. But yeah, I want to give a shout out to Eric Minch out there in the chat a little bit earlier. Hopefully he's still out there and can give us a shout as pace car is off. We're getting set to go back to green flag racing, and there is the green flag. You can see those cars lurch to their nose to the air, and the number 90 of Zudema actually beats Zimmer to the line. Great restart for the number 90. Now he's trying to use that high line, which has been the preferred groove all night long, to see if he can take the lead. Oh, contact with the outside wall coming out of turn number 2, and here comes Alan Capers in the number 13 machine. He smells blood. He's going to take second position from Zudema as they head off into turn number 3. Look at this side-by-side battle from third place on back through the field. Fernando Matos down there underneath Billy Wise in the number 17 machine. Good run so far for Fernando. And there's Chris Roberge there in that number 98 machine. Started from pit lane, qualified second. And he's going to look to make the move as we go on board with that number 98 machine. Underneath the 32 of Billy Wise, halfway down the backstretch, the number 98 is going to clear him, slide up in front of Billy Wise, and now he's going to try and go around the outside of Fernando Matos. Roberge taking no prisoners here after this restart.
So far, we're seeing that the two purple cars dominate that restart, and they're being 1 and 2 going into the corners of 13. I think he nudged them a little. 13 is, it looks like he's definitely entering very, very deep into the corners. The 25 smacks it. I don't think he's going to lose much time, but he does get himself some damage. You saw that quarter panel crinkle in and give himself some hood damage going wide into this corner. This is pretty good for the 13. Now, this is something I did want to mention in the caution, but I forgot to do it as we're seeing 2 wide here for 4th place. It's that, all right, you smacked the wall. That's it. You've done it. You can't go back. There's no replay. There's no replay button, no rewind, nothing like that. As the leader's going side by side, you smack the wall. What do? Do you just want to sit there and complain, or do you want to relax? Oh, so 25 does it again. You need to relax, take it easy, drive, adjust to the fact that you have damage, and see how the car behaves. So far, we're seeing the 25 driving in deep again. So that's telling me if he hasn't relaxed, then that means that he hasn't. He's still driving his car. Like I said, it still has 100%. Capacity. Well, that car is definitely damaged at this point. He can't drive it just like he did a couple laps ago until he gets that fast repair.
Yeah, you know, that is exactly what you have to do as a driver. You just kind of have to find out what the car is capable of now that it has a little bit of damage, and relax, take a deep breath. There's still a long race to go. You still got a few fast repairs, and like I said, I mean, you have 105 laps to go this time by. So still plenty of time to make it back up to the front. Speaking of making it back up to the front, Tanner Sharp has led some laps early in this event, back there in the 7th position. He's got the number 80 of Kevin Cochran, the 17 of Fernando Matos right in front of him. He's trying to look for a way around, unable to do so just yet. He's going to get underneath the 80, though, coming out of turn number 2. He's going to go 2 for 1 here to get around the number 80. We'll have to see if he can get around the 17 of Matos here in turns number 3 and 4. Not able to do so just yet. Matos has the preferred group coming out of turn number 4, and the horsepower underneath the hood of that Ford Mustang will prevail, at least for now. But that will move the number 3 of Tanner Sharp back up into the 6th position. Meanwhile, Alan Capers up to the front has gotten around Kyle Zimmer, and Capers is pulled away just about a quarter of a second. Chris Roberge has snuck around Travis Zunema, and Roberge has moved his way into 3rd. So a fantastic qualifying run for Roberge, and he's backing it up with a fantastic performance so far, as we are fairly close to the quarter distance of tonight's race here in the 133 lap, 133 mile event.
Going back to Tanner Sharp real quickly, as he just smacked the wall real hard right now. I was going to say to take a look at that right side damage. Well, now at this point we saw him get some damage, but when we saw him overshoot pit road, either he was going to go in there and try to come out with the lead, or once he did that, I would assume that he changed his plans and decided to repair his damage. He did not take a fast repair because he still had damage at the end of his stall, and he stayed behind to get that fixed. So that's one driver who is not relying on his fast repair right now. Although with this heavy pound to the wall, he might start to reconsider that if we got another quick caution.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this race does tend to go green, that damage is just going to hurt him more and more, as Travis Zunema trying to find his way back around the 98 of Chris Roberge. You see that number 98 machine dive it down into turn number 1. A little bit of traffic down there on the bottom. That will allow the 98 of Roberge to close up on the back bumper of Kyle Zimmer. At least for now, that battle for the lead is really, really hot. A 4-car battle now. Want to give a shout out to the Grassroots Sim Racing AC number 13 saying go number 13. Of course, that will be Alan Capers.
Perfect timing to hop on in.
Yeah, with Alan Capers leading the way here, as we're now at the quarter distance mark of tonight's race. Looking out back at the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer. Looking at the nose of that number 98, Chris Roberge.
Oh, behind is a 20.
Blood. Oh, that's Dave Wilson. He's rally crossing it down the back. Taking the chicane down there, the road course chicane. That's not where you want to be on an oval.
I think he hit the wall and then got some damage from behind. They got turned into the grass.
Yeah, we've seen that outside wall be quite bouncy tonight. A couple of drivers have hit it really good and ended up down on the inside portion of the racetrack. Tanner Sharp did it a couple laps ago when he hit the wall hard. Man, that was a huge wiggle once he hit that wall. Wilson doing everything he could to save it, and eventually using...
I'm not seeing Alan Capers.
Oh, what's happened to Capers?
To me, he's being shown off. Okay, he was just having, looks like, some connection issues, which is also not a sign of relief. But the fact that he's back on track is good, and he's not blinking and back and forth. So it looks like maybe a small hiccup. Maybe somebody decided to download something or turn on Netflix in his house. But he is back on track right now, and it looks like it is not affecting him right now. Although it seemed like the 25 did catch up just slightly.
Do you want to keep an eye on Tanner Sharp? Tanner just got around Fernando Matos for the 5th position, and now Matos is falling into the clutches of the number 80 of Kevin Cochran. Back there, Cochran running in the 7th position. Dave Wilson, we just saw him go through the grass. He's currently in 8th. AJ Digby sits 9th, so Digby hasn't been able to move up the field from his hiccups early in this one. And currently rounding out your top 10 is the number 32 of Billy Wise. But this battle for the 6th position between Matos and Cochran is red hot, at least for now. The battle up at the front has cooled off just a little bit, as Capers got a little bit more of a gap over Zimmer, and Zimmer's pulled away from Roberge, and Roberge is pulled away from Zudeman. So the accordion up at the front has expanded just a little bit, as Digby's now trying to get around the number 20 of Dave Wilson. We're used to seeing these two battle it out up at the front of these races, but they currently sitting in the latter half of the top 10. Alan Capers, Kyle Zimmer, Roberge, your top 3. And here comes Digby underneath that number 20, trying to use that inside line to his advantage. There's not a whole lot of grip down on that very bottom groove. That's why he's not down there. He's one groove up. But Wilson tried to hang tough on the outside line. Got a little bit squirrely there coming out of the corner. Just got on the gas a little bit too soon. Car pushed up, and that has allowed Digby to now move up into the 8th position. This is that battle for the 6th position right in front of them, though. The number 80 of Cochran underneath the 17 of Matos down the front straightaway. Matos trying to hold tough on the outside line. You can see Matos really drove that number 17 machine in really deep. And the 80 of Cochran went all the way down there to the inside groove. And like I said a lap ago, there's just not a lot of grip down there. And you can see that right through the center of the corner. The 80 just could not get back onto the gas pedal in time to get around the 17. And the 17 has scooted away, at least for now. But up at the front, Alan Capers has pulled away. There you go. You can see it there, about 0.6 of a second separating your top 2. And the battle currently is for the 3rd position there, as Zudema is trying to get around Roberge, just showing his nose underneath that number 98 machine coming out of turn number 2. Unable to do anything with him just yet. He's going to try the high side this time. Going to kind of arc the car into the corner. He got a really good run there. Yeah, got a good run there on the latter part of the corner, and has pulled alongside with the number 98 as they dive it off into turn number 1. It's going to be who's going to be later on the brakes, who has the brake bias to sail it off into the corner just a little bit better. And I think that answered that, because Travis Zudema, P3 now.
Yeah, it's a competition. Who's going to drive it in like a championship contender into this flat track? Well, it's not the flattest of tracks, but it's still a flat track compared to other tracks out there. If you don't have the skill and the car grip, mechanical grip, to drive it in deep and hold it in the corner, then you're not going to be able to do that well here tonight. At least you won't have a chance to win the race. Now, going back up front, we saw earlier, how many times, Peter, can you honestly say that you can see anybody just outpacing the 25 of Kyle Zimmer? Lap after lap, Alan Capers is not by much, but he's definitely outpacing Kyle Zimmer, and that's just something that you don't see every single day, at least not this consistently.
Yeah, over the last 5 laps, the fastest car on the racetrack has been Tanner Sharp, but it's only been Tanner Sharp by about 8/1000ths of a second, which is basically nothing. Alan Capers, 2nd fastest car on the racetrack. Kyle Zimmer, 3rd fastest car on the racetrack. He's a couple hundredths slower than Alan Capers after the last few laps. Travis Zudema, 4th fastest car on the racetrack of the last 5, and then is Chris Roberge, AJ Digby, Kevin Cochran, Dave Wilson, and Billy Wise, kind of your top 10. But Alan Capers and Tanner Sharp are trading fast laps with one another, so that is just going to kind of seesaw back and forth between those two as we ride on board with that number 3 machine as he tries to close in on the back of Chris Roberge. Roberge sitting in the 4th position now after being passed from Travis Zudema. And it's going to be interesting to see what Zudema can do now that he's got around that number 98 machine.
So far, the closest battle that we can see is the battle for 7th place between AJ Digby and Fernando Matos. Other than that, everybody else is pretty much spaced out apart, except for right now, it looks like for a fraction of a second they're maybe entering the corner. Kyle Zimmer was very close to Alan Capers. As a matter of fact, it seemed these last couple laps, Kyle Zimmer's actually been getting closer and closer to Alan Capers. So it seems like once I open my fat mouth, bad things start to happen to the person I was talking about, because now Alan Capers is driving a little bit slower than Kyle Zimmer, and it's allowed Kyle Zimmer to catch up.
What happened, Carlos, was Alan Capers caught lap traffic of Thomas Wise in the number 1 Gibson Chevrolet, and that allowed Capers to close right in. There is that number 1 machine. He's letting a lot of the faster cars by very courteously there on the back stretch, and that allowed Zimmer to close in on Capers, but Capers has stretched it once again just a little bit, up to about 4.5 of a second. There is that battle now for the 4th position brewing up between Roberge and Tanner Sharp. Tanner, of course, we saw him save his tires under that first run, and this run now is about the length of the first run that we had. And we definitely saw that number 3 continue to get faster and faster and faster over that run. I think that's what we're seeing here again, as he has now all but caught that number 98 machine. And got to keep an eye on the line that this number 3 is running. He's running a very unique line. He doesn't have an option here, though. He's going to use the low line into turn number 1 to see if he can get around Roberge. Not quite able to do so just yet, but he got a spectacular run through the center of the corner. It's going to propel him up off of turn number 2 side by side, and I think Roberge is just going to lay over here and let Tanner Sharp by, as that number 3 dove it off into turn number 3, but Roberge is not quite done yet. He showed his nose underneath Tanner Sharp, but was unable to make that over-under work. Looking a little bit further back, this is a side-by-side battle between the 66 of Lowhead and the 56 of Tom Johnson.
And Nate Catilla.
And Nate Catilla, like you said, down there. So this is the battle for 11th between Tom Johnson, Lowhead, and Catilla. In fact, Tom Johnson has scooted ahead here. So now it's really the battle for the 12th position between Lowhead and Catilla. Of course, Catilla, we saw a little bit earlier, he was turned around coming out of turn number 4. A little bit of contact with one of the lappers, and it's kind of put him back in the pack. He's currently not the last car on the lead lap, but only one car behind him on the lead lap. As we're looking at this battle once again for the 3rd position, we thought that the number 3 of Tanner Sharp had asserted himself in that spot, but Roberge is not letting him get away here. And in front of him is Travis Zudeman. While those two are dueling with one another, it is allowing Zudeman to scoot away just a little bit. And look at this. Here is the number 14 of AJ Digby. He's working through some lap traffic. Kevin Cochran right behind him. Digby currently sitting in the 6th position. Cochran in 7th. Those two drivers over the last 5 laps have been running fairly comparable lap times, but Digby is just a little bit faster. So now that Digby has a little bit of clean traffic in front of him, we'll see if Digby can pull away from Kevin Cochran. And they're just now getting around that number 1 machine is Fernando Matos in the number 17, just outside your picture. Kevin Cochran started this race in the 12th position, now running in 7th. As Dave Wilson there at the top of the screen, once again flirting with that outside wall. We saw him going through the grass not too long ago. But nonetheless, he's having not the best day in Dave Wilson's book, as Wilson was trying to do the double this week here in the SimPossible Racing League. He won the race just the other day, but look at this. This is a battle now for the 3rd position. Sharp has caught Zudeman, and Zudeman in the wall! Hard in the outside wall. Travis Zudeman, lots of right front damage from that. Looked like that number 90 machine just didn't turn on into the corner. We'll go back and watch this one on the replay. We'll see if there was any contact between those two cars on entry. And looks like he was letting the 3 by. And I didn't see any contact there. It looks like he might have locked up a brake or something. It just shot right up into the wall.
It looks like, from what I can see, in an effort to prevent the 3 from passing him, maybe he just drove in a little bit deeper. But it just wasn't, it was a little bit too much, and it cost him. And I know they got close by, and unless Netcode played a factor, which I doubt it did, because the car didn't jump around or do anything strange, I think he just drove it a little bit too deep.
Well, that's going to put the number 3 of Tanner Sharp now up into this position. Remember, he started quite a bit back on that last restart after staying on pit road to get a lot of damage fixed. But he is currently sitting 4 seconds behind your race leader, the number 13 of Alan Capers, here leading the way. So far, the number 13 has led the most laps here tonight. Typically, it's Alan Capers killing the most cones, but here tonight he's killing the most laps led so far. But he does have that number 25 of Kyle Zimmer not too far behind him. He's got about a half-second lead as of right now, as we are about 10 laps or so away from the halfway distance in tonight's 133-lap event. 133 miles around this joint.
Now, these drivers are already about 36 laps into their... caution is out! Travis Zudeman, I believe. Travis
Oh man, and
Zudema,
it
Christopher
goes from
Burch.
bad to worst. The number 98 and the 90 were running together on the racetrack. Let's go back and see if we can see what happened here on the replay. I might have to go a little bit further back than that. Already a lot of front end damage to that number 90 machine. Ooh, looks like, yeah, maybe the 98 was involved. Here going through turns number 1 and 2. And, ooh, the number 98 pushed up. The number 90 came down, possibly just a
Wow.
little bit. Those two cars came together. Hard impact with the inside wall for Travis Zudema. And that's not what he wanted to have happen. He's had a spectacular run so far. Go back and right on board with the number 98, yeah. And I think it just, the number 98 got tight down there on the inside line and thought the number 90 might give him a little bit more room, but the 90 himself trying to stay away from the outside wall, and can't blame him for that. We've seen a lot of drivers impale that outside wall here tonight. So a lot of your leaders now on pit road.
20,
yeah, a couple
20
drivers using their fast repairs here now that we're almost at the halfway distance. These drivers do have 4 fast repairs, so it looks like we're seeing a lot of drivers use theirs for the first time. And look at AJ Digby there, and the number 14 machine out pretty quickly. And the number 98, a reverse, still sitting on pit road. He used a fast repair after that contact. Here comes Travis Zudema. The number 98 didn't use a fast repair.
No, he did. He also didn't have any. He had some already damage from smacking the outside wall, but he didn't gain any additional damage, or at least nothing that we could see from hitting the side of the 90. Now, going back to that last caution, as we see the 17 of Monsters going down pit road, giving the lead to Billy Wise. Ever since he smacked that wall, getting passed by Tanner Sharp, I've been noticing that his car has been extremely tight. Tanner Sharp caught him in the straightaway because he almost smacked the wall. He being the 90 of Travis Zudema, he almost smacked the wall and had to check up actually in the corner. Didn't touch the wall, but Tanner did get to his outside and then pass him, and then 90, of course, did end up hitting the wall, and then kept on hitting the wall, and this car getting tighter and tighter and tighter. It's one of the things that I was mentioning earlier. You have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to breathe, relax, accept the fact that you smacked the outside wall, and understand the new feeling of the car now, because that car has changed, especially smacking the wall that hard. And it seemed like the car kept on getting worse and worse, and the 90 wasn't correcting to that tightness, and ended up getting to a point where he put himself in a position that he had to check up in the corner again, and the 98 had no idea that he was going to check up like that, and ended up making some contact into the inside wall. So that's something you have to be careful for. It's 13. Oh, wow, did you see that?
Rest in peace, Cone.
I want to take a look at that, see just how close that was to hitting the inside wall.
Yeah, he's coming down. He's on the racetrack. Down. He sees the cone. Play the Jaws music.
Oh, he got some damage.
Oh, he got some left front damage from that. And maybe he'll think better about playing with the cone next time. Because, yeah, you can see that left front damage on that number 13 machine as pace car lights are off. We will go back to green flag racing as they're about halfway down the backstretch as of right now. Headed off into turn number 3. This is led by Kyle Zimmer to his outside, the number 3 of Tanner Sharp. These two have done battle all season long up at the front. Third place, AJ Digby. Fourth place, Alan Capers, who's led most of this event so far. Fifth place is the number 80 of Kevin Cochran. Pace car is off. Green flag back in the air here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Kyle Zimmer, fantastic restart down there on the inside. He's going to clear. He's going to clear the number 3 of Tanner Sharp going off into the corner. But the number 3 dives it in as the 14 gets a little bit sideways through turn number 1 and 2, and we're side by side for the race lead. You see all those cars jostling for position down the backstretch. Number 14 of Zimmer. Actual contact. Oh, the number 3's around a little bit of an accordion in the middle of the field. And there they go. Big wreck in turn number 3 and 4. Zudema getting involved in it once again. And my oh my, Carlos, that looked like just possibly a little bit of accordion. A couple cars bouncing off of one another. And we'll go back and see what we can see looking out back of that machine. Yes, I think the 13 clipped the 25, and the 25 got knocked up into the 3. and Tanner Sharp got the worst end of it, stopped on the racetrack.
Yeah, just from what we saw, some just light enough contact to push the car forward into the back of the 3, and that ended up causing the majority of that outside line to get some heavy damage. It looks like the 20 might have gotten away without any issue. We'll go on board right here and see just what he saw.
Yeah, riding on board with the number 20 of Dave Wilson. We'll see this contact right in front of him, and there's the initial contact. Oh, yeah, he got into the back of the 13 in front of him when the 13 checked up. But kind of a bumper cars there in the middle of turn number 1 and 2. And that is actually going to give the race lead to the number 14 of AJ Digby as he stayed out on the racetrack. A lot of the other cars electing to come down pit road here under this caution, as we are still about 2 or 3 laps away from the halfway mark. So interesting to see a couple drivers coming down pit road. Most of the field coming down pit road. But AJ Digby staying out. One of those drivers who has come down pit road is the number 17 of Fernando Matos. And I'd like to highlight that number 17 of Matos here in just a moment. He does have a special paint scheme on, or at least a special logo on the hood of the 17 of Matos. He is currently sitting on pit road getting some damage repaired. And he's actually going to drive away now. Ooh, also sitting on pit road is the 25 of Kyle Zimmer. Looks like he decided to stay on pit road for a little bit. As, you know what, I'm kind of curious. It looks like every caution we've had so far tonight has been a manual caution. So I'm wondering if automatic cautions have been turned off, or if they've been turned off accidentally or something like that. But every caution we've had tonight has been quite rightfully a caution thrown by the admin. As once we go back to green, AJ Digby will assume the race lead. Alan Capers stays out. He got a bunch of front end damage from that contact with the rear end of the car, which was right in front of him, the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer. Zimmer is elected to come down pit road and get most of that damage repaired, not by means of a fast repair. And once again, Chris Roberge has snuck his way back into the top 3 after being shuffled around. Brian Lowhead in the number 66 Polaris Chevy Camaro, which is a good-looking race car. I really, really like that Polaris number 66 scheme. Those kind of colors are the kind of colors I typically run on my race car there on the left side of your screen. Left central side of your screen, I should say.
Yeah, that's what's been here.
It's a pretty good-looking race car. But pace car lights are off. We'll get set to go back to green. It'll be interesting to see how this strategy plays out. I'm sure if you're AJ Digby, I'm sure you're thinking right now that track position, because we have seen that it's fairly difficult to make a pass here tonight, even if you have a few tenths on the cars around you. But now Digby will be your race leader as we reach the halfway mark this time by. Headed off into turn number 3. We'll reset the field for you here quickly. It'll be Digby, Capers, Roberge, Lowhead, Wise, Wilson, Cochran, Zuma, Tom Johnson, and Nick Tiller rounding out your top 10. Pace car headed down pit road once again. The race is in the hands of AJ Digby, and there's the green flag. Number 14 has a good jump up the front, but Alan Capers not letting him get too far ahead. As they head off into turn number 1, Digby's going to charge it down into the
Chris
corner.
Roberge.
He's going to wash out. Oh, contact Roberge and Capers is gone. What happened to Capers? Caution is out.
Oh, wow.
And, wow, just like that, a little bit of contact there as the track narrowed up. There were 3 white there in the center of turn number 1 and 2, and we're back under caution. And, yeah, that little bit of nudge, maybe a little bit of net code there, and doesn't look like Capers hit the wall or anything. But the caution flag did come out, and we're back under caution here just past halfway. And I'm sure that's what Digby was thinking, track position, trying to be ahead of any type of melee if it did happen. Looks like
he did hit
that's
it.
it looks like a little scuff on the left front, which kind of adds to the damage of that number 13 machine. I kind of do expect him to come down and use a fast repair here now that he's a little bit further back in the pack. The Capers will come down, get 4 fresh tires here under this caution flag, led by AJ Digby. And Carlos, let's see if we can focus on that number 17 machine of Fernando Matos here for just a moment. There he is. Fernando has the struggles to strengths logo on that number 17 machine here tonight. They serve vulnerable and exposed families recovering from long-term and reoccurring trauma through trauma-informed care and healing-centered engagement to cultivate resilience, healing, and wellness. So that's pretty cool to see that on the front of that number 17 machine here tonight.
Oh,
running a special logo.
And say yes, it's a very special cause for the 17 of Fernando Matos. So the way he's been driving, he's been giving that paint scheme a good show so far. We'll see what he can do towards the end of the race and see if he can bring it home in a top 5 place.
Still a long way to go as we've just now broken the halfway mark. Right in front of Fernando sits the number 3 of Tanner Sharp. We did have a couple cars come down pit road this time, including Nate Catilla, Alan Capers, and Kyle Zimmer. Tom Johnson, also one of those electing to come down pit road. So once again, a little bit different strategy. Billy Wise took 4 fresh tires as well. Looks like Billy will be the first car on 4 fresh tires once we go set to go back to green. He currently is in the 9th place as live timing and scoring updates while they go across the start-finish line here.
So, all right, 70 laps into this race, already halfway through. Who do you think has a good chance of winning this race here tonight?
Well, that is a loaded question, Carlos, because we've seen a lot of players in this race, comers and goers, goers and comers, and all of it, really. I mean, it's been a really crazy race so far, a fantastic race, because no one's really asserted their dominance in this one. It's, typically you come to a racetrack, it suits one driver, and they tend to have a fantastic showing, but we've really seen all these drivers throughout the entire field tonight. So, it's really hard to say at this present moment in time. I mean, look, Dave Wilson there sitting in the 3rd position right behind his teammate Chris Roberge. We've seen him struggle tonight, but he's back into the top 3. Tanner Sharp, he's back up into 7th after being involved in the accident 2 cautions ago. So, personally, I think if we get a long green flag run, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see the number 3 of Tanner Sharp get to victory lane because he's been really fast on the long run. But if we can get a short run, I think we're going to have drivers like Travis Zudema possibly end up in victory lane. So it's definitely going to be something that we're going to have to watch as this race continues to unfold. But it's definitely left me on the edge of my seat here, and we still have a long way to go. But pace car lights are off, and we'll crank them up one more time this time by, as the flagman has a green flag in hand. Just waiting for these cars to make their way at an excruciatingly slow 55 miles an hour through turn number 3 and 4 once more. Yeah, so far this has been a spectacular race. Pace car is off. Look at Zudema right behind Dave Wilson, poking that nose out as the green flag is back in the air. A little bit of wheel spin possibly for Fernando Matos there in the mid-pack, but he does a fantastic job keeping it underneath him. Digby's going to sail it off into turn number 1 and 2. We saw him do this last time, and it ended up causing a melee right behind him, but nonetheless, he's going to clear everyone coming out of turn number 2. So good start for AJ Digby. Look at Travis Zudema. He's hanging tough around the outside of the number 20 of Dave Wilson as they head through turn number 3 and 4. That light blue Zulu Motorsports machine versus the dark red. Ooh, Fernando Matos scraped the wall there on the start-finish line. They went across the start-finish line.
Yeah, that type of little scrape isn't going to be anything to be worried about. The big things you got to watch out for is the type of damage you get exiting the corner. After that, any slight scrape, as you see there in 90, do the same thing he did a couple laps ago. as he smacked the wall, is we're also having a big cloud coming in as well. Did you see that? Tanner Sharp just cut across the hood of the 90. Almost brought out another caution there. They were that close to making some contact.
Yeah, and I've noticed that clouds are coming and going here at this racetrack. Once you get a big cloud, Zimmer in the outside wall. Yeah, Carlos, you said it. Big hit with the outside wall, and that's not what you want to have happen. I do got to mention that Zudema, both times he's hit the outside wall in turn number 3, it has been around the number 3 of Tanner Sharp. So I'm wondering if Tanner Sharp has that Intimidator button from the old EA Sports games working on that number 90 machine.
Yeah. All right, well, speaking of coming and going, we are currently seeing the 20 David Wilson moving up in the field now. We saw him earlier dropping back, but now he is coming forward and trying to get himself in a good position to finish this race very strong.
You know, one thing I'm curious of is whether or not Dave Wilson had a lot of time to play with his brake bias in practice. Just watching the attitude of that number 20 machine as he enters the corners, it just doesn't look like he can sail it into the corner as much as some of the other cars around him, and it just doesn't seem to rotate on entry like he'd want it to. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dave Wilson has played around with the brake bias in the race, maybe gotten it a little bit more to his liking, but nonetheless, you and I know, Carlos, you can only adjust your brake bias so much once you've started the race, and if you didn't have the, it's 3% is all you can do, plus or minus 3% from wherever you start the race at. He clipped the outside wall there coming out of turn number 2. That's been the bane of his race, that outside wall off of 2. Luckily, he's able to not go rally crossing down the backstretch like we saw him do about 30 laps ago. But AJ Digby up at the front, he's using that racetrack to his advantage. Scooted away just a little bit from the 98 of Christopher Burge as Tanner Sharp now sits in the 3rd position. And watch that line that Tanner Sharp's running through the center of 1 and 2. He's going all the way up to that black stripe, and that's what he's been doing this whole race long, as sparks fly off the right side of that number 14 machine, the race leader, Digby. Just a little scrape, on entry into the corner.
Now, I know the answer to this, but for the fans who don't know, Peter, why don't you go and explain why these drivers are running the exact inside line around this whole racetrack?
Well, the inside line here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway has less banking than the second groove. And that's why you see none of these drivers on the... Oh, we have a caution. You can see it up there at the top of your screen. A lot of smoke in turns number 1 and 2. And it looks like Brian Lowhead in the Polaris number 66 might have gone around. We'll go see here on the 3-wide TV replay going through turn number 1 here. Number 4 of Nate Cotillo right behind him, and he tried to go down to that bottom groove, but the number 4 was there. Got sideways. And fantastic save. Looks like just a little bit of contact, not too much damage, however. But that will bring back out the caution flag here and the lights on the Ford Mustang pace car. But getting back to what I was saying, there's just not a lot of banking on that bottommost groove. And you'll see a couple drivers hit the very bottom groove around that yellow line on corner exit just to try and stay away from that outside wall and see if they can carry as much momentum up off the corner. But you won't see many drivers using it through the center of the corner where it's just not a lot of grip. There's a couple drivers electing to stay out. Christopher Burge and the number 13 of Alan Capers still on the racetrack. Most of the field coming on pit road. The number 14 of AJ Digby and number 3 of Tanner Sharp. Dave Wilson in the 20. Number 80 there of Kevin Cochran on pit road. And number 14 going to hit his box here nice and smoothly. Right side's going on right now. We'll see that crew go to work on the left-hand side of that machine. There they go. And Tanner Sharp, little bit of a gamble here. 2 tires on that number 3 machine. He's going to win everyone, or beat everyone off pit road, win the race to that yellow stripe as the field continues to cycle on through. Interesting call for Tanner Sharp to take 2 tires. And one thing I haven't seen tonight here, Carlos, is these cars be loose at all. I just haven't seen anyone spin out on their own accord which is something that's fairly common at New Hampshire, is for you to be loose, especially up off the corner. But everyone's been tight here tonight, and sometimes taking 2 tires will loosen up the race car and actually can improve the handling. So, you know what? At this point of the race, 50 laps to go, we probably will get at least one more caution in this race. I think Tanner Sharp here has made a pretty good gamble at this point of the race.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these drivers now approach. It is getting darker and darker. I know we're not in any threat of it being nighttime, especially since I want to say this track has no lights, but Bob isn't around for me to ask him. I don't personally think we're going to be... Yeah, no, we're not in danger of going nighttime at all, but it is getting darker, and I would love to see how the track temperatures would affect the handling of these race cars. Looking into the weather, we're seeing it's a somewhat cold day. It's a 77 degrees air temperature with a track of 92 degrees, although the wind is pretty strong going west. That being said, so a lot more grip than usual, so if it does get hotter, which at this point I don't think it is, we can maybe see some more loose race cars. But if it gets colder, do you think it's going to become so tight that it might become loose?
Yeah, and that's a good point, because push loose is sometimes a thing, and it sounds like an oxymoron, but it really isn't. You just have so much wheel in the race car trying to get it to turn because your front end just won't grip, that all of a sudden when you hit the bumps coming out of these corners where the banking transitions, all of a sudden the weight transfer on the car plus how much you're leaning on the front tires, all of a sudden your car just reaches its limit, its capability of grip, as Alan Capers goes down and hits that blue cone there coming out of turn number 2. Gotta say, Alan, that's a lot safer than trying to go for the one in turn number 4, which he did about 50 laps ago. But yeah, push loose is definitely a thing. It just all of a sudden, it's more of a, the car just snaps on you, and it's really frustrating as a driver when it happens, because it's all of a sudden really loose from being really, really tight. But hopefully we don't get to see that here tonight, as pace car is going to dive down here. Fernando Matos there, currently running in the 2nd position. He stays out on the racetrack, and the green flag is in the air here at New Hampshire once again. 50 laps to go, 5-0 here at New Hampshire. 50 miles, 50 laps, as the 13 of Capers, he's led the way once earlier here tonight using a little bit older tires. Contact there in the pack. Couldn't quite tell who that is from this shot. I think it might have been the 80 machine. If it wasn't the 80, it was the 98, but I think it was the 80 of Kevin Cochran there in mid-pack, as Tanner Sharp has gotten around Fernando Matos, and he's trying to go for the race lead, trying to get around the 13 of Alan Capers. But watch that hard-charging number 14 right behind him. The 14 of Digby on 4 fresh tires versus the Tanner Sharp, who's on 2 fresh tires. But look at this run that Tanner got coming out of turn number 2. He's not going to make a move just yet on that number 13 machine, but Digby is hounding him for that lead. And I think, Carlos, you can tell that number 3 can just maneuver a little bit better on those 2 fresh tires than the number 13 in front of him. So not quite sure how long this battle for the race lead will go on for us. Maybe a little bit of contact there in the back of the pack. I think it was Nate Catilla who's going way wide through turn number 1 and 2. In fact, he made a little bit of contact with the outside wall, it appears. But Tanner Sharp unable to find a way around the 13's back bumper just yet. And Tanner Sharp and AJ Digby there almost having it coming together out of turn number 4. But I'm just impressed by that number 13, able to get out there on 12-lap older tires and lead this thing.
So my pick to win is the 13 of Alan Capers. I do think that he has what it takes to hold off any hard-charging race cars. Now, the greatest thing that Alan Capers can see now, especially now we got 47 laps to go, is that 14 trying to battle the 3, which they've been doing right now. And we were seeing earlier, especially in the start of that restart, that the 3 definitely had the momentum, and he definitely had the speed to catch up to the 13 and possibly get by him. But that all went away the moment the 14 started to stick his nose down there and try to pass him, because we are seeing the 14 with the 4 fresh tires rotate just better than Tanner, but when he gets to the inside of Tanner's pretty much giving up on a battle of the lead to make sure he doesn't get passed by the 14, because Tanner definitely has the skill and he definitely has the car grip to hang in front of the 14, even though the 14 is faster. But he does have to concentrate on it. If he lets the 14 go by on the inside, then that position is easily gone.
And I gotta say, Alan Capers, your race leader, is running a fantastic defensive line, just running right down there in that second groove where there is sufficient banking, watching his rearview mirror, trying to find where Tanner Sharp is going. You can see that number 13, he's going to try and straighten his drive up off the corner, which is definitely going to help with a little bit older tires to save that right front. She's doing such a fantastic job up here of leading this race. It'll be interesting to see if the number 14 is able to mount a charge because, yeah, the number 14 has lost a little bit of ground on Tanner Sharp and actually scuffed the wall coming out of turn number 2.
A little kiss.
Don't think that will affect him at all, but also want to keep an eye on the number 25, Kyle Zimmer. He's creeping back into the picture. He's currently running in the 4th position. Dave Wilson in 5th currently, just inside the top 5, about 2 seconds off the race lead. Then comes Kevin Cochran, Nate Catilla, Travis Zudema, Chris Roberge, and Billy Wise. Oof. Dave Wilson smacking the wall coming out of turn number 2 once again. He's just been struggling with turn number 2 all night long. Hasn't been able to find his rhythm here tonight. And this is a rhythm racetrack. You kind of have to find that rhythm to know where the wall is and to run consistent lap times, lap after lap. Like I said, it kind of races like Martinsville. Martinsville is one of those racetracks where you have to have a rhythm. Hard at the outside wall. Contact with the 98 as well, Roberge. And Carlos, you need to stop highlighting some of these drivers because it's kind of like the other night.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like the other night when you had way too much power at Road America. Carlos, with the camera, I don't know if you had some banana peels or something that you could shoot out of the camera or something, but cars were going off the racetrack all over the place.
I do the voodoo.
Ah, there you go. That answers everything.
Who do the voodoo? I do the voodoo.
Maybe Tanner Sharp is doing some voodoo right now because he's caught that number 13 right in front of him. In fact, they are side by side for the race lead. They caught the number 99 of Johnny Berardi in not the best spot for the number 13 of Capers, but Capers really strong here through the center of the corner, and he's going to battle back around the outside.
14.
And here comes Digby sticking his nose in.
This is this is exactly what the 13 wants to see. He wants to see that Tanner can get distracted by the fact that there's another driver who can easily pass him if he doesn't concentrate. And they're going side by side. This is fantastic news for Alan Capers and all the Alan Capers fans watching right now. 39 laps to go.
Yeah, and AJ Digby. Hard contact with the outside wall. That number 3.
That car has got to be killed.
Yeah, I mean, that was a ton of contact. You can see that whole right front is pushed in a couple of inches now. You can see that right front tire exposed.
He's losing that time.
Suspension looks like it might be okay, but yeah, he's got a ton of damage. He's going to have to refuel out that race car. Digby slid up in front of him, and Digby had to check up a little bit as to not hit the outside wall coming off of turn number 2. And Tanner wasn't able to react fast enough to the 14 checking up and just ran into the back end, and that pushed him into the wall. Digby, I think he caught the wall a little bit as well. And now Kyle Zimmer has been able to close in on that number 14 machine here as we have 37 laps to go around this joint.
I think Tanner
Alan
was
Capers
by far
looking for the win.
I think Tanner was by far Alan Capers' biggest threat. I think AJ Digby was a little bit faster than Tanner, but I think at this point, that small advantage that AJ had is probably gone. And as the laps keep on going by, the advantage that every driver had compared to Alan Capers is also gone. But now my next question is, how far can those drivers that went down pit road go on field? Because Alan Capers will have to go down pit road one more time. But will the other drivers be able to stretch it? They're currently being shown with 17 laps under stint. So essentially about 15, 14 laps of green flag racing. Add that to the 36, and can they make it the rest of the way?
Yeah, I think they can make it the rest of the way pretty easily. This is a racetrack where you end up saving a lot of fuel because you're off the throttle for quite a bit. And really, the number 13 of Capers has only been out there for 30 laps, 35 laps to go. That's 65 miles. You can make a 65-mile run here on with these B
Oh,
cars.
14 smacked the wall.
Digby just clipping the wall just a little
This
bit.
is
That's going to allow
beginning
the
to
number
look a
25.
lot like Capers Day.
Yeah, and the number 25 Kyle Zimmer, but don't look now. Kyle Zimmer has been the fastest car on the racetrack over the last 5 laps. He's about a tenth faster than the 13 of Alan Capers. But Digby holding on to that second position, at least for now. And if I'm Kyle Zimmer, I think I'm going to be patient here for another 5 to 10 laps. He does have fresher tires than Capers, and he has seen that the 14 has been struggling all night long with clipping the outside wall. So Zimmer just needs to be patient here, not find himself in any kind of mess, see if the number 14 does make a small mistake, and see if he can pounce on it. Just save those tires here as these laps wind down. Because if he can get around Digby, I think he's got a good shot at closing in on Alan Capers as we now look at this battle for the 4th position between a heavily wounded number 3 machine of Tanner Sharp and Dave Wilson, whose number 20 machine also slightly wounded, as Digby's closed back in on the number 13 of Capers. Capers still running that very defensive line, doing a fantastic job ticking off laps up at the front. But look at that number 14 late on the brakes off into turn number 1. He's trying to get his nose to the right rear corner of that number 13 machine.
Oh, that's going to bring out a caution.
14's around. Caution.
Not yet. No caution.
Hard in the inside wall. No caution just yet. There's the caution.
There it is. Yeah. I'm assuming that was admin thrown.
I don't know if Digby's machine blew an engine there or whether he got stuck in the wall, but it was admin thrown. A hard contact with the outside wall.
Oh, he got stuck in the wall.
Yeah, he got glued to that fence. Tried to escape it, but was unable to. And that was essentially what I was saying just a few laps ago there, that he's been struggling with that outside wall the entire race long. It just pushed, and that outside wall contact was enough to hurt the right front of the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer as well. But you know what, Carlos?
What?
Everyone's going to come down pit road. Everyone's going to get 4 fresh tires. This race will be reset here with under 30 laps to go once we go back green. And here they all coming down pit road, led by the number 13 of Alan Capers.
At this point, if you haven't used the fast repair, or if you've only used one, and you have some damage, take it now. 31 laps to go. Unless it becomes a true caution fest with these last couple of laps, I don't think you're going to be using every single one of your fast repairs remaining. So Alan Capers should definitely take a fast repair unless he barely smacked the wall. But I know he had some damage. Tom Johnson stayed out. Tanner Sharp will definitely be taking a fast repair. Even I would take that, even if I only had one left.
Okay. Yeah, it is go time here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We'll see who wins the race off pit road.
Tanner Sharp!
Looks like it will be, Tanner Sharp gets it done on pit road. The 13, Alan Capers, comes out second. Dave Wilson third. Looks like fourth will go to Kyle Zimmer, who we just saw make all that contact with AJ Digby. And if you're an AJ Digby fan, unfortunately for AJ, that number 14 is still stuck on pit road, currently 2 laps down. And haven't yet seen the crew go to work on that car. So if he does not get rolling here quickly, we'll see AJ Digby 3 laps down, which will all but end the night of that number 14.
Let's go see if we can talk to the 14 of AJ Digby.
See if we can grab him here.
Yeah, I think Peter is there with AJ right now.
Yeah, AJ, that number 14 machine still sitting on pit road. I think you're now being scored 3 laps down. Definitely a tough break for you here tonight, but definitely had a lot of pace in that number 14 machine. But that outside wall coming out of turn number 2 has been really rough.
Yeah, it was a little bit of rough there. Just tapped the wall and got the iRacing glitch where it sticks me inside the inside wall. So because it's an iRacing glitch, I might be able to get Jeff might give me a wave around throw me back around and hopefully get back into this thing. Still a little bit of time left, and you never know caution-wise, things like that. So we'll see what we can do here and hopefully get back into the fight at least.
All right, well, I see that number 14's back out on the racetrack, so we'll let you get back to it. But best of luck. Hopefully you can contend for this this win.
Thank you.
All right, and as I was saying that, AJ Digby was working his way through traffic.
Our bad.
'Cause he did get the wave around. You saw him flash by on the left-hand side of your screen there. Pace car lights are off. He will actually be scored 2 laps down, I believe, once this is all said and done. But your race leader will be the number 3 of Tanner Sharp. Fantastic pit stop on that number 3 machine. He did take 4 tires and off pit road first. Second position, Alan Capers, who's led a significant portion of this race. Third place is the number 20 of Dave Wilson. Fourth position, the number 56 of, it was the number 56 of Tom Johnson, but he's elected to come down pit road, so that position will fall to the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer, and behind him will be the number 80 of Kevin Cochran. So that'll be your top 5. Sharp, Capers, Wilson, Zimmer, and Cochran, as the pace car will head down pit road this time. 27 laps to go at the stripe. Green flag back in the air here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And good restart for Tanner Sharp. We've seen a couple drivers been able to hold alongside with him into turn number 1, but so far, as I say that,
there, though.
the 13 of Capers showed his nose to the outside, but had to check up. A couple of cars dicing down the back stretch there as we go off into turn number 3 and 4, right on the back bumper of Tanner Sharp is the number 13 of Capers, and I think Wilson had to back out of it just a little bit to avoid contact with the number 13, but that's just about the tightest you can be without contact, as the number 13 dives it down into turn number 1 once again. So impressive to see. I gotta say, the number 13 of Capers, he's really, really good on the brakes on entry into the corner. He struggled on the exit just a little bit there, but Alan Capers isn't backing down here. There's the number 25 of Zimmer. He's back up into the 3rd position. Wilson 4th, and now Chris Roberge cracks the top 5 once again. Great run for Roberge. Started on the outside pole, but elected to start from pit lane. So I should say he qualified on the outside pole, but started from pit lane. Now, at one point of this race, he was the last car on the lead lap, but he's currently running inside the top 5, as they're pretty much single file. But I say single file, anything can change ever so quickly, because pretty much the entire field, you could throw a blanket over them. They're all so tightly packed with one another. Looking a little bit further back, there's Fernando Matos and AJ Digby getting around Billy Wise. Digby is 1 lap down actually after the wave around, so good for him. He's actually battling Thomas Wise for the lucky dog spot. If we get another caution, Digby would be the lucky dog and would have a shot to work his way forward. Here comes Capers on the inside groove, trying to show his nose underneath the 3 of Tanner Sharp.
Now, the same thing that we were seeing the last run is what's applying, but the inverse. Now Tanner Sharp has to hope that the 25 is going to go and try to pass the 13, either by shoving his nose down there or actually going side by side. Because the 13 does have the speed to probably get side by side with the 3 of Tanner Sharp. But the moment the 13 is going to sense any sense of a battle, he's going to have to abort any chance of going for the lead, just to make sure he doesn't get passed and lose a position.
Yeah, and Tanner Sharp himself, he's made a few mistakes in this race with contact with the outside wall. He's going to have to mitigate those mistakes here with only 22 laps to go. No more mistakes. I mean, you're going to have to be spot on for these last few laps if you're going to get the checkered flag here, because you have the number 13 and the number 25 tucked up right behind you. Only 0.7 of a second separate those top 3. And we're starting to see the number 3 possibly get a few car lengths gap. Oh, he scraped the wall there on entry into turn number 1, and that upset that number 3 machine dearly, as the number 13 was able to charge right up to the back bumper of the National Guard Chevy Camaro. Oh, Dave Wilson flirting with, Digby's flirting with the outside wall once again. Hard hit back there in the back of the pack, and you can see that right side's caved in once again. tonight just hasn't been Digby's night, as he's being passed by Fernando Matos back there. That is not a battle for position. Digby 1 lap down. Still the first car 1 lap down. But for now, we keep our eyes on this battle for the race lead as we have 20 laps to go around this racetrack. And oh, there we go. The number 3 of Tanner Sharp in the outside wall. I said it just a few laps ago. You're going to have to limit your mistakes, and that will give the race lead back to Alan Capers, at least for now, because I don't think that the 3 of Tanner Sharp will be able to do anything just yet. Look at that. The number 13 taking a defensive line down the front straight, and he's going to cut up right in front of that number 3 on entry into turn number 1. And look at Kyle Zimmer. He smells blood now on that number 3 machine. 19 laps to go.
I was waiting for a good time to mention it, but the 13 of Alan Capers beat me to it. I was just about to say that the 13 does have an ace up his sleeve, and that's just to pressure the 3. Press L2 to intimidate the 3. And he did just that, because the 3 of Tanner Sharp has had a history 2 days so far of just overdriving it and hitting the outside wall. And even before I had a chance to say that, the 3 ended up hitting the outside wall, and it costed him the lead. And perfect for the 3. Perfect for the 13. Horrible for the 3. This also brought the 25 right behind the Tanner Sharp, and they were Tanner Sharp sensed a little battle, so that allowed the 13 of Alan Capers to actually get a bigger gap than what the 3 of Tanner Sharp did to him earlier. So this is fantastic news for the 13 of Alan Capers, and I'm pretty sure all the Alan Capers fans watching right now is cheering right now. Pardon me, English is not my first language.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Justin Gilliam, who is in the chat right now, rooting on the number 13 of Alan Capers. Awesome to see a couple of Capers fans in the chat right now, rooting him on with now just 17 laps to go, 16 this time by, as that number 13 flashes across the start-finish line. And really, Alan Capers' best friend is the number 25 of Kyle Zimmer in his rear view mirror. If he can start getting alongside that number 3 of Tanner Sharp. And man, we alluded to it earlier, as you really can't make any mistakes to get to get the checkered flag here. Is fortunately for Dave Wilson, he had another mistake there, hitting that outside wall coming out of turn number 2 once again. And really, Alan Capers, he's kept that number 13 clean all night long. I don't think I've seen Capers in the wall once tonight, and that has really been impressive. I think I've seen everyone else in the wall at least once in this race, but he's kept that Chevy Camaro nice and clean, and he needs all that downforce he can get here as he tries to close in on this race. Looks like the number 3 isn't letting him get all too far out front, as that battle for second has calmed off, at least for now. But only 14 laps to go now. You see Dave Wilson there kind of just outside the picture, running in the 4th position. His teammate Chris Roberge in 5th. Good run for Roberge, like I said a little bit earlier. They're coming up on the lap traffic of the 99 of Johnny Berardi to see what Berardi does. He's going to stay to the inside here. Your race leaders go around him on the outside. Capers running a little bit higher on the racetrack. Sharp. Oh, we have a caution.
Caution's out.
This could change everything.
Catilla.
Looks like Nate Catilla on the backstretch. Ooh, almost contact there with the one of Thomas Wise. And I do believe this will give the lucky dog to AJ Digby, as long as Digby was able to stay off the wall. It does look like he did. So I think AJ Digby will be your lucky dog back on the lead lap. But let's see if we can see what happened here. They went off into the corner together, the 14 and the 4. The 4 running a little bit higher. And that outside wall, you got the outside wall. And ooh, Fernando Matos getting involved there too in the 17 machine. Luckily, they were able to just bounce off that inside wall, unlike AJ Digby, who got stuck in it like glue. But everyone on pit road this time, Carlos, and I saw 2 tires work earlier in this race. I expect to see 2 tires here again by a couple of drivers. Who decides to throw the dice?
I would do it too at this point. 2 laps on about 17 lap old tires. Pretty much 14 or 15 of them have been green flag. Definitely 2 tires on my end, but the question is, who will overshot their stall? Tanner Sharp nails it in pretty nicely. Tanner Sharp has the advantage of having that first pit stall. If he takes 2 tires, it's pretty much over. He's taking 4 tires.
Yeah, we're waiting to see who will win the race off pit road. Christopher Birch.
Birch, Tanner Sharp, 13 of Alan Capers at 25.
Yeah, that first pit stall has paid dividends for the number 3 of Tanner Sharp here tonight. He's won the race off pit road twice, and everyone in the field electing to use their fast repair here, as we'll have about a 9-lap shootout once we go back to green. It'll be 9 or 10 laps, somewhere thereabout. But like I said, AJ Digby in the 14, he's back on the lead lap. They're just to the left of Chris Roberge. Doesn't look like anyone stayed out. Roberge throwing the dice with 2 tires. Tanner Sharp there in second in that number 3 machine. There's Alan Capers in the 13, third car off pit road. And then you have the 25 of Kyle Zimmer, Dave Wilson right behind him. My, oh my, this is going to get exciting here with only a few laps to go. Thomas Wise in the number 1 machine. I don't think he's going to take the wave around. I thought he might, since we only have a few laps left here. But he did elect to come down pit road along with most of the other drivers.
So, something...
looks like the 13 got the cone.
Yep, something I did want to mention is that I want to say happy birthday to one of our friends, one of our 3R Racing drivers, and not necessarily enemies, but just rivalries to everybody out there. Sam Close, happy birthday, man. There's a kazoo for you.
Yeah, happy birthday, Sam. Always enjoyed racing with Sam Close myself. Had a lot of close battles with him throughout my 3-wide racing career. Very, very respectable driver on the racetrack. Always admits when he's, in the wrong, or doesn't really put up a fuss. And, very, very fast race car driver. One of the best drivers I know, saving tires on the long run. And, happy birthday, Sam. Hope you enjoy it. Well, Alan Capers is out there knocking down the cones. Not sure if he's knocking down the cones in frustration. Probably not. He tends to do that for fun around this joint. But like I said, we will have a 9-lap shootout as pace car lights are off. All your race cars headed down the back stretch here, 55 miles an hour under pace conditions. But in just about a lap, they'll be upwards of 150 miles an hour headed down this back stretch. Headed off into turn number 3, and it's going to be interesting to see if those 2 tires on that number 98 here pay dividends. He's been fast here tonight, has Chris Roberge. Just 9 laps away from the checkered flag. Pace car down pit road. Green flag back in the air. Chris Roberge leads us back to green here and got a pretty respectable start. Oh, a little bit of a stack up mid-pack. The number 90 of Travis Zuma had to pull out there down there on the bottom, and the 98 he's going to slide up in front of the number 3 of Tanner Sharp, and here comes Alan Capers on the inside line. There's 3 wide down the back stretch. The number 3 in the middle, the number 13 on the inside line, and poor old number 98. Oh, Roberge is loose. He's sideways going off into turn number 3. A fantastic save, but here comes your new race leader, Alan Capers, once again.
Oh, the crossover!
They're still bumping and banging the crossover. Here comes Tanner Sharp now to the inside of the number 13.
Oh, contact!
Out of contact! And looks like here comes Kyle Zimmer now on the inside.
Oh, the drive
line.
off!
Still 2-1.
Alan Capers! Oh my goodness!
My, oh my, Capers leads here. That was ever so close. Zimmer had to back out of it just a little bit, but now we're 3 wide for the third position.
Oh, we're gonna wreck! We're gonna wreck!
Position.
Oh, they're wrecking!
Oh,
huge wreck!
Huge contact. The field is the track is absolutely blocked. And like you said, Carlos, that just wasn't going to work. You foresaw it. 3 wide there, coming out of the corner, and Dave Wilson, Kyle Zimmer, and Tanner Sharp all getting involved. And Tanner Sharp, that number 3 machine, is smoking out there on the racetrack. Go back and watch this replay. Man, they were just absolutely going for it. Spectacular racing. 3 wide. You see Tanner Sharp dive it down there, and then he starts to watch up the racetrack, makes the first little contact, makes second little contact, and then I think Kyle Zimmer might have had to check up there. And it was just 3 race cars in the wrong spot at the wrong time. And, very, very tough break for Tanner Sharp. He's been so fast here tonight, as has Kyle Zimmer. Both of those cars receiving heavy damage here And Zimmer might get a little bit lucky. He might be able to be somewhat high up through the field, but Tanner Sharp is currently smoking out there on the racetrack, barely pulling 100 miles an hour trying to catch up to the field.
He's ready for Talladega,
There
though.
he is.
I'll give him that.
That number 3 machine is completely crabbing. I mean, he's having to turn left to just go straight.
He's doing a reverse drift through the corners.
If he was,
it blew! No, it blew right there!
Yeah, the number 3's engine has blown, and it goes from bad to worse for Tanner. He will have to take a tow back to pit road. He's going to see if he can.
He's stopping it.
He was thinking about seeing if he could coast it back, but he's not going to be able to do so, especially with his pit stall being the very first pit stall at the end of pit road. And
there's the car.
He has now taken a tow, and there's Alan Capers, your race leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and still killing cones out there. I don't think it's in frustration this time because it's your race leader. And I'm going to have to say the 3 dirty words, green-white checker, because we do have green-white checkers here in the SimPossible Racing League, and if we were to get another caution in this race, we would get our first attempt. Don't believe that this will count as your first green-white checker attempt, because I think we'll go back to green, and Capers is playing with that yellow cone.
I think he got some damage.
I think he did get some damage. Yeah, he's got a pretty significant amount of left front damage. Go back and watch this one again. He tried this earlier and same thing happened. Just clipped that wall just a little bit. It's just so close. Oh, yeah. And hopefully that is not going to affect that number 13 machine. We've seen them be so fast here tonight.
You know what?
And
this is exactly what this league is about. These drivers are out there. They're having fun. We're seeing Alan Capers, notorious for killing cones. He's got the lead with possibly, I don't think it's going to be green-white check, but possibly the last restart here. He's got the lead. He doesn't care if he's putting his car at risk because he just wants to have some fun killing cones. And you know what? I don't blame him. I'm having a blast watching this man race in this racetrack, and this is going to be a race I'm going to be talking about for a long time.
It has been an absolute spectacular race.
No, he's not.
It has kept me on my toes. I said that at the halfway mark, that the first half of the race was super exciting, and the second half of the race has just kept up with that trend. These guys know how to put on a show here at the SimPossible Racing. As Alan Capers says, a little bit of a connection issue. Hopefully it all stays nice and smooth here for the remainder of this race. As he's got the number 80 of Kevin Cochran to his outside. Mentioned that number 80 a couple times tonight. Travis Zudema there in the number 90 machine, currently running in the 4th position. And how about Fernando Matos in that number 17 machine? We highlighted him earlier in the race because he is running that special logo on the front, the Struggles to Strengths logo on that Ford, and putting in a spectacular showing here, currently in the 3rd position. What about AJ Digby? He was a lap down not too long ago. He's down the 5th position, right behind Matos on the inside groove. So pace car lights are off. 2 laps to go once we go back to green flag racing. We will have a green-white checker if caution comes back out. If we don't get around to get the white flag, a green flag is in the air. Oh no, Capers! He did get back on the gas. He gets a little bit of nudge from the 17, and here comes Kevin Cochran around the outside, and here comes Fernando Matos on the inside. He's tucked up right behind that number 13 machine. They're side by side coming out of turn number 2. And Cochran did get tight, and that did allow the number 13 of Capers to get a drive off the corner. Here comes Digby, trying to make it 3 wide on entry into turn number 3 and 4. They're side by side for the race lead. They're side by side for second. Oh, a little bit of a nudge there.
Last lap.
13, and white flag is out. We won't have a green-white checker. They're 3 wide for second. Here comes the number 17 of Fernando Matos to the inside. The number 90 of Zudema to his outside. This action is absolutely crazy. Headed off turn number 2, this is exactly what, contact between the 17 and the 90. I'm losing my voice as they're halfway down the back stretch. This is what the number 13 of Capers wants to see. He's clean and green up at the front, got a couple of car lengths in between him and Fernando Matos, who's found himself in the 2nd position. Alan Capers will come home, get the checker flag, a very deserving victory, and Fernando Matos comes home 2nd. It was a photo finish for the third position. AJ Digby beats out Zudema by 1/1000th of a second for the third position. Zudema fourth, Billy Wise fifth, Kevin Cochran, Doug McCollum, Kyle Zimmer, Tom Johnson, Brian Lowhead rounding out your top 10. Wow.
What a fantastic race. Santa Sharp ended up finishing 15th there, 2 laps down, and he just crossed the start-finish line. What a race. Oh, my goodness.
And of course, Tanner came in tonight, your points leader, 26 points ahead of Kyle Zimmer. Zimmer coming home in 8th, so pretty good points night for Kyle Zimmer, at least relative to Tanner Sharp. Alan Capers came in tonight 3rd in points. What a points night for him. Led the most laps in this race and won it in a pretty spectacular fashion as everyone's coming around the racetrack to give Alan a congratulatory bump. It's Alan Capers' first win of the B-Car Series here at SimPossible Racing League. So, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, we have a couple of number 13 fans out there. Give this guy a round of applause because he flat out deserves it. Knocking out the cone here on his victory laps, drifting that number 13 down the backstretch. What a celebration. What a trip to victory lane for this guy.
It's just a fantastic race to watch. I was really hoping we ended up getting that win. He was driving it like a madman, but he knew everything that he was doing it right. Whenever he wasn't doing it right, he got lucky breaks left and right. But don't take that away from him because Alan Capers definitely drove his heart out here tonight. What a fantastic race to watch from Alan Capers. He executed this, maybe not flawlessly, but he executed this and got the win.
Yeah, and this is only Alan Capers' second win in the SimPossible Racing League. His first win came in the K&N car at Milwaukee Mile. It's interesting to note that because you need to start thinking of Alan Capers possibly as your flat track master. Milwaukee, another mile racetrack that's just about as flat as New Hampshire. And he's burning it down here on the front stretch with his second career SimPossible Racing League victory.
All right, so we're gonna be right back. We're gonna take a small break while we go ahead and get the interviewees ready for tonight. We're gonna leave you guys with the sounds of the 13 burning it down. Okay, pass your phone. What a race! Oh my gosh. Oh, he blew the engine. Guess what, guys? My mic was not cold the whole time. Hey, you guys all hearing me? Peter, I forgot to mute my mic, so everybody heard me. Hey guys, I'll be right back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where we just saw one of the most spectacular finishes, at least this week in iRacing. I say it's a spectacular finish, but these SimPossible Racing League drivers know how to put on a show, and they do it week in, week out with these fantastic races, and another one here tonight. We're going to be talking to your top 3 finishers in order. AJ Digby finishing 3rd, Fernando Macho 2nd, and Alan Capers your race leader. So let's see if we can dial up driver of the number 14 machine of AJ Digby. And here he is. AJ Digby, Peter Short, you got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
Well, man, we talked to you not too long ago, and you were sitting on pit road with a pretty beat-up number 14 machine. It was stuck in the inside fence. But things kind of went your way there in the last 20 laps, able to get back on the lead lap, and somehow, some way, by 1/1000th of a second, You were able to beat out Travis Zunema for that podium position. Tell us about the last 20 laps from your perspective, because it must have been pretty wild. It was wild from up here in the booth, watching that all unfold.
I don't know how many times I took a breath in the last 20 minutes, but I'm glad to be breathing now. But wow, that was an absolute crazy finish. That'd be awesome to watch later. But yeah, I knew I had a fast car, so I was hoping that we would get a caution there to get back onto the lead lap, and was able to get one and then pick my way up through the field. And there was like 3 spins within like 2 laps of each other with about to go, and somehow 2 of them got saved, and then the third one was on the front stretch that I didn't think I was going to make through. So I had my foot on the throttle behind Travis, and I was like, this is my only way through, is to just follow him. And somehow we both made it through. And then there at the very end was I feel like our front 6 on a great show there to finish out that race, and Travis and I were able to split Billy. And for Travis's first race with the Zulu paints, we were able to go 3-4 with 1,000th of a second between us. I was very happy about that.
Yeah, and going into the last lap, Jay, you were sitting in the 6th position. You went from 6th to 3rd in just about turns number 3 and 4. Tell us what was going through your mind coming out of turn number 4 when you realized you possibly had a shot at a podium finish.
Yeah, well, when I was coming through, when I was going into 3, I knew I had it at the bottom. Kevin had just gotten up into the wall, or somebody had gotten up in the wall and slowed up that top line, so I knew I had to take the bottom. And then as I was in the corner, the guys above me kind of swung a little too wide. They took it a little too deep, which is natural on the last lap. And so I knew I had a little bit of room to swing out, and I saw Billy down hugging the very bottom, and I was like, I'm going to be able to get a better run than him. And so it was trying to hold the throttle as much as I could without taking him out, and luckily I was able to skirt by cleanly, and Travis was able to get out there too and give Zulu a 3-4 finish.
Yeah, an absolute fantastic run for you coming out of the corner. I mean, that was able to propel you on past both Billy and Travis for a spectacular showing. We saw a couple of drivers struggle with the outside wall coming out of turn number 2 tonight. How did the car drive? I mean, typically when you come to New Hampshire, you think of loose coming out of the corner, but here tonight it looked pretty tight.
Yeah, it was a tight race car all around tonight. So especially once you got about 15 laps into the run. So, and you really had to adjust not only your braking point, but you had to be real careful about when you got back on the throttle. But the worst part was probably that when you were in traffic, you couldn't really see the wall because all you could see was the car in front of you. So that's why a lot of the times when I got up into the outside wall, you'd see a whole chain reaction of cars. Because in some ways, when you're in a battle like that, you can't really see the point on the track that you want to hit the throttle at. So you're kind of just following the pack, and so that's why you see a lot of guys follow each other, train into the wall. But luckily, it almost felt like the track cooled off there towards the end. Definitely had a little bit more grip the longer the race went on, once you got fresher tires, and was just able to push through and deal with the track conditions and come away with a great finish. I don't know if I've ever been happier with 3rd place.
Absolutely. It was a spectacular race here at New Hampshire. Next week we got the Iowa 166 at Iowa Speedway. And then what's your thoughts about that racetrack? Because it's one of these racetracks similar to tonight that has different grooves with different levels of banking.
Another short track. It's going to be real fun. Really like Iowa. IndyCar's there this weekend, so I'm excited to watch that as well. But Iowa's a good track, so I'm excited to get onto that short track, and haven't really tested that in this car in a long time. But there might be a couple different grooves to be able to play with, and a couple different strategies, because that place can eat up your tires. So that'll be an interesting race for sure. I don't know if it'll get this good, but hey, you never know. Tune in.
Yeah, of course, AJ, you finished second to Tanner Sharp here just a few weeks, or I should say, second to Tanner at Iowa Speedway just a few weeks ago. So hopefully you can finish one spot better when we go there next week. But before we let you go, you got some shout-outs for us?
Yeah, first of all, cousin Kevin Vollmer, as always, for the amazing Zulu paint schemes. Got a little bit of a touch-up, rush-up today, as well as rolling out the brand new blue one for Travis. Both of those look absolutely amazing. A huge thanks to him. Thanks to Travis for joining in on the team and coming away with a 3-4 finish at 1,000th of a second. You guys for the broadcast, I cannot wait to watch this one later. And then Jeff for the league, and everybody in the league. Everybody that I was around was good, hard, clean racing the whole night. I mean, inches separating each other, and it's just awesome racing week in, week out. I don't know if it can get much better than this. So thanks to all those guys. It was an absolutely wonderful evening.
And AJ, I think you alluded to us earlier this week on Monday night that there was going to be a possible announcement or something like that. Was that announcement the number 90 of Zuma?
That was the wonderful baby blue Zulu Motorsports machine of Travis Wiedema. So I hope he likes his car. I think it looks awesome, and it looked awesome next to mine coming across that finish line.
Absolutely, it did. I really do like that baby blue on that scheme. But nonetheless, AJ, we have a couple of races on the SimPossible next week, and we hope to see you then.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there. Thank you, guys.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your third place finisher tonight. AJ Digby had himself a couple laps down at one point, but rallied back for a third place finish. And I do believe that Carlos Acosta has caught up with your second place finisher. That will be the number 17 of Fernando Matos.
Yes, I'm right here, Fernando Matos, with a very special paint scheme on the hood for this race. Ended up finishing second, seemingly coming out of nowhere. Do you want to give us your take as to how your night went overall?
Yeah, I really was buried in the back late in the race. It seemed like about the first 30, 40 laps, I could hold the 6 or 7, but as the race went on, I got deeper and deeper in the pack, and I couldn't get out of it. So to get second, it was the least expected podium ever.
We definitely saw a lot of people struggling with their cars, and I can imagine it gets even worse the deeper in the pack you get. You did struggle there a little bit in the middle part, but towards the end you were finding yourself back in fifth, and then eventually ended up finishing in second place. So that must have been a huge shock for you. Going into next week, we have another short track, another flat track. I believe it was mentioned that it was Iowa, right? Right, Peter?
Correct.
Yeah, we're going to Iowa. Do you want to give us your thoughts as to how you like that track, how you want to approach it, and most importantly, are you going to be there?
Yes, I'll be there. I really liked Iowa when we raced 1 month ago. I think I got fifth, had a great battle with Nate Godilla. It's a really fun track. I really like it. I hope I can get a good result, but man, this league is so competitive. Everybody is so good. Everybody has a shot of winning every night. It's really an amazing league.
That's true. I believe Kyle Zimmer mentioned in the comments not too long ago, this is the 18th race of the season, and this is the 10th different driver that has won in this series. You've won a race, not in this series, but maybe you'll be next at Iowa. We'll see what's going on. But before we do let you go, so you can celebrate the second place finish with that fantastic special scheme that you brought in today, do you want to give us any shout outs you have?
Yeah, let me give a shout out to the owner of the paint scheme, my friend Erin Farrell. She does a great project with kids here in Atlanta who are healing from trauma, who come from difficult situations in life. And she does an amazing job with the kids. And since New Hampshire is a home state, I approached her yesterday and said, hey, we should put your logo on my car. So I'm so glad they got a podium for her with her logo on. if you wanna know more, you can find her on Facebook, and you can find out how to help her too.
All right, it's fantastic. Fantastic, and I'll be doing some research on that and seeing what I can probably do to help. But ended up finishing second. Thank you so much, Fernando Matos. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Thank you, Sam. Look forward to talking to you guys. Thank you, True TV, for the amazing job you guys do every night. And see you guys next week.
All right. Well, we are heading on to Victory Lane as Alan Capers has just gotten out of his race car. Peter Short's there to talk to him.
Absolutely. I'm down here in Victory Lane with your 10th winner of the 18 races so far this season in the SimPossible Racing League B-Car Series, Alan Capers. And Alan, my oh my, it looked like you had the car to beat tonight, getting your second career SimPossible Racing League victory and your second win on a flat track, winning at the Milwaukee Mile earlier this year in the K&N car. Do you like these flat tracks? And tell us a little bit about your race.
You know, as in liking these things, no, I've never really liked them. They're flat, man. But I don't know. This equipment, you know, all the practice. Honestly, I didn't even put too much practice into this one. But I just drove it like a road course. And honestly, the first part of this race, man, was horrible. It did drive up through the field okay, but good grief, what a difference when it got open in clean air.
Yeah, we noticed you in the middle part of the race. You decided to stay out on about 16 lap older tires, took a very defensive line with Tanner Sharp behind you, and was able to hold on to that lead until we got a caution flag, and Tanner was able to leapfrog you under a pit sequence. But definitely looked like clean air was important to get on the nose of your car here tonight, as a couple of drivers struggled, especially up off the corner. Tell us how the car was handling from your perspective.
In traffic, it was just a turd. There's no other better way to put it. But like I said, clean air, and being able to run the line that is better for you and more comfortable and has more speed, that it's priceless. So I'm very, very glad that I was able to get out there, and yeah, I had no idea that this was going to happen tonight, so I'm extremely pleased.
Well, you had a couple of fans in the chat throughout the race, including your wife, which is pretty awesome to see here on 3 Wide TV. We love everyone chatting throughout these races. It's a lot of fun to read through the chat, and awesome to see your wife in there. I'm sure she's going to be celebrating with you here tonight.
Don't let Peter talk
Next
to her.
week we have Iowa. We have Iowa Speedway coming up next week. 166 laps around that joint. We were there just about a month ago. What are your thoughts about Iowa?
Iowa's it's a crapshoot. It's either going to be really good or really bad for me personally. I'm just not a fan of that track. But then again, if you would ask me the same thing the other day about this track, I would have said the same thing. So odd things will happen. But man, without my wife, I wouldn't be anything, man. She is the most beautiful and amazing woman on this planet.
Well, hopefully you can have her with you in Victory Lane here tonight and celebrating that win. And I know before we let you go, we're going to let you celebrate. And my, oh my, you did some spectacular burnouts. So you can see those here right on the screen, the tire marks. You know, you got some shout outs to give for us on the back end of your second career victory.
Yeah, actually, this is my first Xfinity win, so that's pretty cool. Or at least in the SimPossible. I am going to need a tow, though. I did blow this thing up, so send somebody out to push me. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to that road course in the K&N. That's going to be killer. And you know, any shout outs, man. Next Level Racing. again, without their support, without their sponsorship, I wouldn't be sitting here in victory lane. That's for damn sure. My wife, of course, without her and her support, you know, even when I don't feel like doing this stuff, she's the one that motivates me besides these guys. Wesley, I don't think he's in here, but normally he's in here. Justin, appreciate it, buddy. Will, anybody else, everybody that watches this thing, man, we love your support. Every single one of us loves watching this broadcast and seeing everything that you guys post. So keep it up. Tell your friends, post it on social media. Get more people out here. We love the accolades. We love being able to come out here and put on a damn good show. You guys, 3 Wide TV, without you guys, it would not be possible. Jeff, of course, nothing else needs to be said. The man is amazing, and we're blessed that he gave us this opportunity, and looking forward to the future, man.
Absolutely, and that future starts with the K&N race here on Monday night. Should be a fun race, as always. I love watching those K&N races with you guys because this time it will be at the Glen, like you just mentioned, for 40 laps around that place. And in fact, we're going to the Glen here in the B car in 2 weeks' time. So hopefully you get a little bit of practice in with the K&N car and have a good run there and be able to back that up in 2 weeks' time with a good run with the B car at the Glen as well.
Man, that's exciting. I didn't even realize we had the road course with this thing coming up. That's going to be awesome. As I said the other day, I love road courses. So those are my wheelhouse. I'm really excited to go to those tracks, and I'll have something for these boys again because these wins get against these guys, man. This is ridiculous.
Absolutely. Well, go celebrate. Have a good night, and we will see you on Monday night for that K&N race at the Glen.
Thank you, fellas. You guys are amazing. I love the work that you do, and thank you.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Alan Capers picking up his second career SimPossible Racing League victory, and like he said, his first victory in the B car series, which is pretty awesome. 10 different winners in 18 races so far this season. That just tells you a little bit about how competitive this series is. And Carlos Acosta, I think you've caught up with the league organizer, and I'm sure he's just going to be as ecstatic as we are.
Yeah, he was just about to enter the mess hall because we have some leftover from Taco Tuesday last night, but I just caught up with Jeff. Jeff, man, another fantastic race. I know you're hungry, but I wonder if you have some time for a couple questions here tonight.
Oh, I sure do, man.
All right, well, question number 1. Did you have a blast watching these drivers, especially the 13 Bound Capers, race their hearts out, trying to get the win and giving it all they had? It was a little caution filled just in the middle part, but at the end of the race, it was very exciting to see these drivers have not only short run speed and long run speed. Man, what a night.
Yeah, having a blast would be an understatement. Man, I had a lot of fun watching this race. I hope everyone else did too. The racing was spectacular. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that at New Hampshire, and I'm not sure we ever will again. I mean, that was just amazing. Little caution filled here and there, but that's short track racing, and the guys once again blew my mind with how awesome they have, with how awesome they are and their abilities. I'm ecstatic, man. I really am. I'm kind of awestruck a little bit about that finish. Things got crazy in a hurry, and the guys, some awesome saves, awesome finish. I don't know what else to say, really. It's just amazing. You have to watch it for yourself. The words can't always do justice to what always happens in racing.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. It was very, very nice to see the 13 get the win, especially after battling so hard. Not only that, but seeing all of his fans out there cheering him on in the race. Whenever he was in the lead, they were all talking about how he could get the lead. We had people suggesting how to do it. We had people cheering him on and everything. And once he got the lead for good, man, there was a party going on in the comment section. But that's enough for tonight. It was a great race. but we have to move on. We're going to continue Road Course Week Part 2. Just a little bit though, as on Monday we head on to the Glen with the K&N cars, and then Iowa with the B cars. You're gonna give us your thought as to how this mixed match week coming up is gonna go.
Yeah, well, first of all, I expect Glenn to be pretty awesome. Road America was pretty cool to see in the trucks. The guys did an awesome job. You know, they always do. That's kind of self-explanatory. But it's just cool to see some guys road racing that probably, you know, not everyone likes it. And not everyone thinks that they even have the skill set to be able to do it. Or maybe their disability makes it a little bit harder for them to race road. And that's understandable. I mean, it takes a lot more effort. It really does, to turn left and right and be on the brakes constantly. I mean, it's a complete different story from oval racing. So with a lot of guys, it takes a lot more effort for them to be able to do it. But I'm super proud to be able to say that the guys can do it. And, you know, whether they believe it or not, they've proven it. And so, you know, everyone's progressing. We're slowly getting better at everything we do. So there's no reason why we can't have all those cars out there doing an amazing job at a road course again. And Watkins Glen should be a little bit better even than our Road America race. It's a little bit easier of a track, and the K&N cars are really good at hugging the corners there. So I'm looking forward to that. Iowa, I don't expect Iowa to be a whole lot different from tonight, really. Really hard racing, door-to-door racing. You know, some people like Iowa, some people don't. It's one of those tracks, again, like tonight with New Hampshire. You know, Alan mentioned before the race that he wasn't a big fan of New Hampshire. Well, he sure did a good job tonight. Congrats to him on being the 10th different winner in the B-Car Series. He did an amazing job. And sometimes just because you don't like something doesn't mean that you can't just give it your full effort and attack it, and just do your best always. You know, doing your best will always prevail over any negative thoughts in your head. And we're all about beauty and progression.
Yep, truer words can't be said right now. And just watching Alan Capers have some fun really put a smile on my face. Especially one of my favorite parts was that final caution period before the last restart when Alan Capers decided to go for yet another cone in the start-finish line, a risky one, and he got some damage. We all were right there that was going to kill this car, but Alan Caper, he's not feeling the pressure. He was just going to have some fun, and it didn't matter if his car got a little bent up. It may have helped him corner a little bit now that I think about it. But before we do let you go, so you can enjoy some of the leftover Taco Tuesday, do you have any shout-outs you want to give?
Definitely. First and foremost, you guys in the booth, the 3 wide, you do an amazing job. We couldn't ask for anyone better to help us out. And, you know, you guys aren't just our broadcasters and commentators, you're our friends. And we truly value that. You guys are amazing. So thank you so much, man. Thank you to Glenn Sidman at SimAbility. Thank you to Paul Davies with Team Brit for allowing us to join his race on September 7th, an endurance race. Guys, check that out. It's going to be coming up here sooner than later rather. Our charity race is going to be the 14th, the week following that on a Saturday. That's going to be awesome, and I believe you guys are going to be broadcasting that for us, if I'm not mistaken, which is super cool. Looking forward to that. We got a lot of cool prizes, a lot of stuff going on with that. It's going to be amazing. Thank you to the drivers, of course, and their families for helping them out. Thank you to everyone that watches the broadcast, and you know, whether live or later. Thanks for supporting us. We truly appreciate it. Anyone that's ever helped us in the past with anything and everything, thank you so much. We really appreciate everyone's help, and we really just want to do good to help as many people as we can out. You know, our goal is to help people out outside of the league, even, you know, racers with disabilities, in any form or fashion. We'd like to help out. So that's the goal. We're going to work on becoming an organization legitimately, and hopefully with this charity race, it will help us with a lot of stuff. If anyone is interested in donating to the league, you can check out paypal.me/SimPossible. That is where you can donate to help out the drivers. Every single penny goes towards the drivers. We buy them tracks and cars and service if they can't afford it, as well as equipment. If we have enough in the funding, we definitely help out with whatever we can. So every penny that anyone donates goes to a good cause, and just appreciate everyone's help with everything, and we're blessed to be able to do this. Thank you so much.
fantastically put together. So, Peter, do you have any final things you want to say before we end up this broadcast? That being said, though, I want you to hold that thought as we go ahead and thank Jeff Mitt for this heartfelt. I think he's already gone for Taco Tuesday. He's gone. All right, Peter, let's talk about the final race results. In first place, we had Adam Capers getting the win. Fernando Matos in second place with AJ Digby in third. Travis Zudima's going to finish fourth with Billy Weiss in fifth. Kevin Crockham's going to end up finishing eighth with Doug Mullins. Pardon me. Doug McCollum in seventh. Kyle Zimmer in eighth. Not the night that he wanted. He talked about, but he was just happy to see Adam Capers get that win. Tom Johnson ended up finishing ninth with Brian Lowhit in 10th. Peter, go finish the rest.
Yeah, and Dave Wilson, Nick Hilla, Chris Roberge round out your lead lap finishers. Wilson 11th, Catella 12th, 13th, Roberge. Thomas Wise 14th, one lap down. Tanner Sharp 15th, 2 laps down. Came as your points leader, was up near the front most of the race, but unfortunately didn't have the finish he was looking for after a late race incident, and finishing in the 16th position at number 99 of Johnny Berardi.
All right, Peter, let's go ahead and wrap up this broadcast. Do you have any final thoughts here for tonight?
Man, I gotta say that race, like I said earlier, I mean, it had me on the edge of my seat the entire race. Just a spectacular show, lots of passes, some fantastic side-by-side racing, some good close battles. We saw that all race long. I mean, it was, I don't really ever think we had anyone skip away up at the front. I think probably the largest lead of the entire night was just about there on the last lap when Capers had about 8/10 over Fernando Matos. And that really is just a testimony to how intense this league is and how competitive all these drivers are. And it just continues to get better each and every week here on 3Wide TV.
Fantastic, fantastic. So it was a blast here, Peter. I had a blast. I've already killed my throat. I've made a couple of mistakes here by leaving my mic on. Hope I didn't say anything too bad. I completely forgot what I said. All right, well, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys all have a fantastic day, and we will see you all on Monday.
See ya!
There we go. That's what I was waiting for.